you feel like your channel is stuck and you've just been hitting a plateau, like you are not growing, it may be that you're making one of these major mistakes that could really be holding your channel back. So in this video, you'll understand what these major mistakes are that unfortunately a lot of creators fall into. And most importantly, how you can make sure that you don't become a statistic and make sure you're not one of the 95% of people who let their channels fail. The first mistake that I see a lot of creators making, and I always tell them, don't confuse the matchmaker. So who is this matchmaker and how do they get confused? I really like to think of the YouTube algorithm as a dating app or a matchmaker, because similarly to a dating app, it's really just trying to link the best video to the best person. And you just know that love is in the air when like they watch the whole video or like they hit the like button, which this feels like a really appropriate time to remind you of that like button below this video. I'm just saying. Wink, wink. I'm not very good at winking. That was horrible. But in the same way, that dating app has to understand information about the two different parties, like hobbies or dislikes or things that they love doing on the weekends. The YouTube algorithm has to learn a lot about their audience, but it also has to understand the contents of the video to connect and make that perfect match. And trust me, the algorithm knows a lot about you and anybody who's on YouTube based on the things that you watch, the things that you don't watch, how long the videos are that you watch, what time of day you watch. It's always learning about you. But the mistake a lot of creators make is they make the job of the matchmaker very difficult. So let's say you're uploading a video and you're excited about it. You want to start raking in those views. So you're like, hey, let's start with my friends and family, make sure they know about it. So I post it on Instagram, on Facebook, and hoping to get at least a little bit of traction. So maybe the YouTube algorithm will start to get that ball rolling. Well, that's a bad idea. Because say my video is about like guitar playing tips and my mom sees that I posted about it on Facebook. She is really into gardening and knitting, but she just wants to support. So she's coming on over, she's watching the video. But also that guy from high school that you haven't talked to in 10 years, he's watching the video. He's like interested in the stock market and he's just trying to like get rich quick schemes. That's the stuff he's into, and a whole bunch of other people. But now you have a data set of people who are not really even into guitar. They either want to support you or they're just curious what you're doing. But every time one of these viewers watches your video, it's sending signals to the matchmaker of the type of person that watches this video. So instead of people who want to learn how to play guitar, you're getting people who are interested in knitting, gardening, or the stock market. The platform is really smart. It's well equipped to figure out who this video is for. It's just your job to make the best videos possible and let YouTube figure out who it's supposed to be for. Just let it go. But let's say we do that and it gets in front of the perfect target audience. How do we actually make sure that they click on the video? Well, to illustrate that, I'm going to tell you a little bit of an embarrassing story about my initial journey here on YouTube. Back when I was getting started on YouTube, I had the great idea of researching the people in kind of in my niche, just trying to figure out what videos I should be making, which in theory is a great idea. But I just did it the wrong way. So I came across this creator, Sunny Lenarduzzi, and she was getting the views that I wanted so badly, and it seemed like what put her on the map was this video. So I was young, I was excited, I was ready to make my version of that video in my parents' basement, and I did. I thought this was my big break. This was gonna change the game for me. I hit upload, and well, how many views did it get? 69. It's unfortunate for many, many reasons. So long story short, I did not get the viewership that Sunny did, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, my advice was basically as good as hers. It was basically the same, and I didn't have a fancy setup, but here's the thing, neither did she, and I'm charming, right? Right? But here's the thing that I thought was going to make me successful was actually the thing that made it flop. Actually, there's two things that I want to talk about. The first is what's called the bandwagon effect. This is a psychological phenomenon that basically says people are more likely to do things when other people are also doing it. And because on YouTube, it's very clear how many people have watched a video, it's so much more likely, like miles more likely, that someone's gonna watch a video with a ton of views and not with very few. So if these two videos are next to each other, psychology tells us that people are just more likely to click on this one if all else is the same. And the second reason that this didn't work is because all else was the same. I was basically just trying to copy exactly what she did. My information was the same. My presentation style was pretty similar. And I thought that that was going to be the reason that my video was about to explode. But here's the thing, the world already had that video because Sunny made it. And then just link that with the bandwagon effect, and my video didn't ever stand a chance. So essentially, the second biggest mistake that I see so many creators making is they're not stealing like an artist, they're just stealing. And one of the quotes that I love that Steal Like an Artist, this book referenced, is this quote by Wilson Minzer, I don't know how to pronounce it. If you copy from one author, it's plagiarism. If you copy from many, it's research. So I'm going to be someone who tells you don't reinvent the wheel. Find what works on YouTube. Find that data to understand so you can make your version of that video, but steal from a bunch of different places. The mistake that I made was stealing from basically just one person, and that's Sunny. And another thing I see creators doing is really killing their audience retention, so their audience retention graphs look like this when they really should look more like this. But luckily, the solution is surprisingly simple. I'm sure you remember learning, like, really early on in education that this equation is basically the exact same as this equation. And it's kind of something that we take for granted now, like we just know that, but I remember learning that being like, oh my gosh, my teacher's right, that is the same. It all comes out the same. And the problem I see with YouTube creators and how they structure their videos is they structure their content more like this equation, and it really should be more like this equation. Let me explain. So if I'm making a video that's like top baking tips for baking cookies, right? In that video, there's probably multiple points that you want to make. Like, let's say that one of them is you really need to melt the butter before putting it in your cookie making mix, which I don't know if that's a thing or not because I'm not good at baking. But let's pretend it is, and the baking people can let me know in the comments if that makes no sense. But let's say that's one of your tips, and then you have a whole bunch of reasons, a bunch of smaller supporting reasons why that is true. Like, for example, the science behind why that is helpful. So in theory, let's say that big tip, hey, melt the butter first, hey, that's one of the key takeaways that we want people to take. So that's going to be our big number, right? And these little numbers are those supporting reasons for the big number, like the science behind why. So typically what people are doing is they're putting this number first, but the problem is that gives people a reason to leave because they think they've got all that they need. But the simple way to fix this is swap the order. The content doesn't change. The result that they take away, it doesn't change. But the thing is they're sticking around through the supporting details, through the science explanation, so that they will then experience that big payoff of melting the butter. But unfortunately, none of these mistakes matter if you don't make videos that people actually care about. Because you can follow all the rules, you can make no mistakes, but if you made a video no one cares about, no one's gonna click on it. But how do you make a solid list of data-backed ideas that people will click on? Well, that's what we talk about in this video right here. So in this video, I will show you how to use data and how to use numbers to make sure that every idea you come up with for your channel could bring in a ton of views for your channel and maybe be the pivotal moment for your channel. Make sure to click this video right here, and we'll see you in the next one.